Hey guys, Abev here, and I just wanted to say Merry Christmas. Uh, this was a sudden video that I decided on doing because I couldn't get a gaming video out in time. This year I've done a couple videos about the Bible, and I just wanted to make a quick video on kind of my opinion on where to start if you have never owned a Bible or you haven't really looked into it too much, because I realize those videos that I've made kind of go into a discussion that people only really have when they've been a Christian or been studying the Bible for a longer period of time. So I wanted to make a video on that and then do a little bit of reading just for the Christmas time and not be too long about it because I've been pretty busy recently and I didn't have enough time to sit down and record some gameplay. Whether you're a skeptic or a new Christian, if you were interested in looking into the Bible, it can actually be kind of confusing in English because there's like 200 different translations and you don't know which one to go with, and then you hear arguments about the source texts and which one is more reliable, and then you start to doubt the entire thing because, like, why are there all these differences? And the truth is they're all 95% the same, and there's basically two lines, one that agrees with itself 99% of the time and the other one that disagrees with itself more often but still agrees with the other text 95% of the time. People get caught up on very specific verses, but besides those very specific verses, generally all the differences are grammatical. There is one other line that I get interested in, and that is in Aramaic, in a dialect called Syriac, which has generally been the same for the last 1500 years or possibly even older. Some believe that it is the original language of the Bible. It's recorded in a version of the Bible called it depends on who you ask. Some people will say the Peshitta and some people will say the Peshitta, but that's another version of the Bible that's interesting and worth using in these comparisons. And it kind of shoots straight down the middle. It has some uh, readings on each side of the debate, which is really interesting. But when you're in English, what do you use? And I think a good start is online resources that we have nowadays. We're blessed with those. So I'm going to put the focus onto my computer because my camera's probably going to die eventually, and show you a few of these resources real quick. So what you're looking at here is OpenBible.info, and this resource I used a ton when developing my worldview and being in apologetics class. It's just got this search bar that says, "What does the Bible say about blank?" And you put in whatever topic you're interested in, and it'll either create the topic or have it already created, and just searches the Bible for any instance where what you put in might be relevant. Um, so it's extremely useful. You can put in something random like, I'm going to put play, and it'll give you some verses, and then you can click on those verses and it'll take you to Bible Gateway, which is another awesome resource because it contains so many different versions of the Bible. And here you can compare between different translations of the Bible or just straight up read those translations of the Bible. And on surface level, you just find the one that's easiest for you to read, because in the beginning, all these translations are 95% similar. So just having something that you're reading is the most important thing. Now, I personally would recommend something that is more literal, so it is avoiding biases within the translation. I have seen several cases where translators will throw in words that have nothing to do with the verse in order to sway their interpretation. So to me, the more literal or word for word the translation, the better in most cases. If I got to go with a modern translation, I would go with New King James Version, because even the parts in there where I might disagree with their translation, they usually explain how the verse might be translated differently, or which manuscripts differ in the footnotes. Now, another great resource is Bible Hub. Bible Hub has even more versions of the Bible that you can compare, and it also has these really helpful tools where you can look at the original languages and definitions of the words in the original languages. So if you are getting really into specifics, you can use that, which is also why in a previous video I talked about a Bible app for the PSP that actually can do the exact same thing, which was quite impressive for the PSP, in my opinion. Now, there's some people who hold exclusively to the King James Version, and that is because the source of the King James Version, known as the received text or Textus Receptus in Latin, I believe, includes some verses that aren't found in the manuscripts used in a lot of modern translations. I believe all of them are included in the New King James Version, just with the footnote of which manuscripts do not include them. But if you want a translation that uses the same sources as the King James Version, you basically can only use literal or old literal translations, like Young's translation, Smith's literal translation. My favorite is Green's, which is fairly new, so it's not using the Old English, and it is as word for word accurate of a translation that I think you can get a hold of. Sadly, there aren't many available avenues to reading it. There's a paperback and there's a hardcover. The hardcover kind of falls apart, and the paperback is huge. Well, so is the hardcover. You can read it online, though, at some different places, and that's what I wanted to read from to you guys, was from Green's literal translation. It also has a revised edition called KJ3 because it's following pretty much all the same criteria as the King James Version. And because it is Christmas time, I just wanted to read some of Matthew chapter 1, kind of pertaining to the birth of Jesus, because that's what Christmas is about. So this is Matthew chapter 1, verse 18 through 25. Now the birth of Jesus Christ was this way, for his mother Mary had been betrothed to Joseph before the coming together of them. She was found having babe in womb of the Holy Spirit. Now, you can see the literalness of this translation kind of coming out. But her husband Joseph, being just and not willing to make her a public example, he proposed to put her away secretly. And as he was thinking about these things, behold, an angel of the Lord was seen by him in a dream, saying, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for that in her is generated of the Holy Spirit. Basically saying, hey, Mary didn't cheat on you, this baby came from God. And she will bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins. And all this happened so that might be fulfilled that which was spoken by the Lord through the prophet, saying, Behold, the virgin will have a babe in her womb, and will bear a son, and they will call his name Emmanuel, which is translated God with us. This is Isaiah 7:14. And being aroused from sleep, Joseph did as the angel of the Lord commanded him, and took as his wife, and did not know her until she bore her son, the firstborn, and he called his name Jesus. Now, I'm not certain on the Greek. An interesting thing in the Aramaic, at least, is that this pronoun doesn't appear, so it's never certain whether it was Mary or Joseph who called his name Jesus, but it really doesn't matter how it's translated, whether it's he or she or blank, because it is the angel who says, you shall call his name Jesus. So is the angel who said what they should name Jesus. So it wasn't either of their ideas. Now, an interesting reference in this is Isaiah 7:14, which was written, I believe, 700 years before this book was written, which is the prophecy that there will be a virgin birth and their son will be named Emmanuel, which the word Emmanuel means God with us or God is with us, depending on who you ask, which I didn't know for many years. This little note in KJ3 is very useful. It's probably in the footnotes of very many other translations that I just didn't pick up on for a while. I didn't learn this from the KJ3. I think I found this from an internet meme at some point. That is quite the interesting prophecy that there is speak of someone being named Emmanuel 700 years before Jesus, because there's no other characters that I'm aware of throughout human history that have been known as God with us as well as Jesus. But if you wish to know more about this Jesus fellow, you could ask plenty of questions in the comments, but also there are plenty of resources online, as I have shared, and you can pick yourself up a Bible and read more out of the Gospel of Matthew, or read it online from any of these places that I've shared. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, and I'll be releasing some more gamer content either right after Christmas or in the new year. So I'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching.